What's up, concert addicts? Johnny Kinsletter here with Concert Addiction with some more shitty Ozzy Osbourne tour news to talk about. And the other day I made a video talking about how he had to postpone the first 4 shows of the European leg of the tour. And yesterday we find out that the whole leg has to be called off. And before I get into any of my speculation or my opinions on any of this, I'll read a statement from Ozzy's team that was posted on all of his social media accounts, as well as a statement from the Prince of Darkness. And it just starts off, Ozzy has been forced to postpone the entire UK and European leg of his No More Tours 2 tour on doctor's orders. This follows yesterday's announcement that Osbourne was postponing the first 4 dates of the tour because of the flu. After seeing his physician again, Osbourne has been diagnosed with a severe upper respiratory infection, which the doctor feels could develop into pneumonia given the physicality of the live performances and an extensive travel schedule throughout Europe in harsh winter conditions. And then the statement from Ozzy, I'm completely devastated for having to postpone the European leg of my tour. It just seems that since October, everything I touch has turned to shit. First a staph infection in my thumb, and now coming down with the flu and bronchitis. I want to apologize to all of my fans who have been so loyal over the years, my band, my crew, and to Judas Priest for letting you all down. However, I promise the tour with Judas Priest will be completed. It's being rescheduled right now to start in September. Again, I apologize to everyone. God bless. Love you all. Ozzy. Man, that's real shitty to hear. But I did kind of speculate a little bit about this in the last video I made when he had canceled those first 4 shows. Sometimes with rock stars specifically, because they've kind of lived hardcore lives for, longer than most people. And the fact that they're all getting older. Sometimes this is how these things start where a couple shows get canceled, and then next thing you know, a tour gets postponed, and then blah blah blah, and then next thing you know, they're done, whether they're forced into retirement or worse. I mean, like what happened with Lemmy and Motorhead. They were playing, and all of a sudden they had to postpone a couple shows, and they played a couple, and had to cancel that tour, and played, and then it went on, and we all know how that story ended. And it was very sad and tragic, and I really don't want to see something like this happening with the Prince of Darkness, but he has kind of had a lot of health problems over the past couple years, specifically just over the last 6 months, like he mentioned in the statement with the staph infection, which he's beating himself up about, but he has given us like 50 years of badassery, so he needs to realize that if this gets to be much, that he needs to stop, because as much as he wants to play music for the rest of his life, like he said, he's never actually fully going to retire, even though this is his final tour. There has to come a point where he has to know that he's got to hang it up or at least dial it back a little bit. When I saw Ozzy Osbourne live, it was one of the craziest live performances I'd ever seen. And I mentioned this in the other video too, and not only just because of how crazy and creepy and it just how he is on stage, but I saw him in 114 degree weather, or at least that's my phone said it feels like 114 degrees. And he came out and sang his ass off wearing full, thick, dark clothing. And it didn't really seem to faze him, even though he did have to take a break halfway through, and then he came out half naked. But nonetheless, he still put on a kick-ass show, which is just crazy for someone as old as he is. But like I said, that can only go on for so long, and at least he follows the doctor's orders when the doctors say, you probably shouldn't do this tour. At least he's not doing this. We just had a situation with UDO where their frontman was told to, sit out a little bit, and he's not complying with doctor's orders. And we'll see how that turns out. But with Ozzy, it's very smart and important that he does, just because of how frail he's got to be. I mean, the dude seems indestructible, but when you look at him, and you find out all that he's lived through and all the shit that he's done, he's got to be a fragile dude. And I'm not saying that to be, insulting or anything. Obviously, I am a huge fan of Ozzy Osbourne. And if you watch my year recap from 2017, he was my favorite performance that I saw in that entire year. But you have to know when to hang it up, because eventually this might start affecting the performances as well. And that could tarnish the legacy. It honestly could, even though it shouldn't, but it could. And the other thing that's cool is that they're already working on rescheduling this. They said that this tour is now going to start in September. So we'll get all the dates and information for that soon. it's cool that they're doing that, because sometimes when these tours get postponed, they say postponed and then it just ends up being canceled. You never end up hearing about, a rescheduling or anything like that. They just kind of forget about it. And then, other times it can be a while before you find out. It can just be a fiasco when they announce a postponement. But since they've already announced that they're starting in September, we just got to keep an eye out for the new locations and dates, if the locations will be affected. The other thing, though, is that it does take away a big chunk of this year for Ozzy Osbourne. Him having to sit out this European leg of the tour pretty much means that he should probably just be sitting out any form of touring for quite some time, and I don't really know what his schedule was set to be like this year, but he should probably definitely take it easy. And the farewell tour, even though it's not really farewell, we've already talked about that, but his farewell tour was supposed to last 3 years, beginning in mostly the second half of last year. It was supposed to really go into full speed all over the world this year and then wrap up next year, and I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I think this final tour, at the very least, is going to get stretched out, if it doesn't end up falling apart entirely and he just decides to stop touring now and just play shows randomly. That could happen. We don't know, but again, it does suck that A, that he has to go through this, B, that he's beating himself up about it, because the dude's a living fucking legend. We all understand. I mean, yes, we'd be sad if we bought a ticket and we didn't get to see him, especially with Judas Priest. But come on. But then the other thing is the fact that this does eat up an entire chunk of this year. So it kind of messes up at least what I thought the plans were for his big exit. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. Get better, Ozzy Osbourne. I know that he's going to pull through this. I'm not like... a part of me is worried, as he's made me worry over the years. I remember it was 2016 when, everybody that was famous died. I believe it was that same year Ozzy Osbourne was going through some shit with Sharon, and he disappeared for a couple of days, and I was just waiting for that alert saying that, he died. But luckily we never got that. And then the same thing with the staph infection. I was like, shit, this is going to turn into some Joan Rivers shit where, it's a typical normal procedure, but because of how old and everything and fragile they are, shit goes wrong and they end up dying. I was worried on those two instances. He's had me worried a lot, but he keeps coming through, so I don't think we have too much of a reason to worry, at least too much about this, but we'll keep an eye on it. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to like it if you liked it and subscribe to the channel. Also, check out my Facebook page, facebook.com/concertaddiction, and my website, concertaddiction.com. And send your best wishes to Ozzy Osbourne. Thanks for watching.